The tap came at exactly 45 seconds. And the 400-pound sumo champion fell. Nobody was supposed to see this. The dojo in Shinjuku was closed to the public that night. No cameras. No reporters. Just 37 witnesses sitting in seiza position along the wooden walls, their breath held, watching something that would be whispered about for decades but never officially confirmed. Bruce Lee stood in the center of the polished floor, barefoot, shirtless, his 140-pound frame looking impossibly small against the massive figure across from him. Takeshi Yamamoto. Six-time All-Japan Sumo Champion. 400 pounds of tradition, power, and undefeated pride. The challenge had been issued 3 weeks earlier. But let's rewind. Tokyo, March 1972. Bruce Lee was in Japan promoting his latest film, working the press circuit, meeting with studio executives. His reputation had preceded him. The martial artist who moved like water, who could knock a man down before he blinked, who spoke about philosophy as fluently as he demonstrated technique. But in traditional Japanese martial arts circles, Bruce Lee was controversial. A reformer. A man who rejected the rigidity of classical forms, who mixed styles, who claimed that the best fighter is not a boxer, karate or judo man. The best fighter is someone who can adapt to any style. To the old guard, this was heresy. Takeshi Yamamoto heard about Bruce Lee's presence in Tokyo through the martial arts community. The American-Chinese actor who claimed no style was superior, who dismissed tradition as limitation, who moved with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. Yamamoto had never lost. Not once. In 15 years of professional sumo, he had demolished every challenger. His size alone was intimidating, 400 pounds of muscle and mass that could move with surprising speed. But it wasn't just size. Yamamoto was technical, precise, a master of balance and leverage within the sumo tradition. He decided Bruce Lee needed to be taught a lesson about respect. The challenge came through intermediaries. A private meeting. No publicity. Just a demonstration of traditional Japanese power against Bruce Lee's hybrid approach. Yamamoto's people made it clear, this wasn't about money or fame. This was about honor. About proving that ancient traditions still held power against modern experimentation. Bruce Lee's response was simple. When and where? The Shinjuku dojo belonged to Master Tanaka, a respected jiu-jitsu instructor who had trained with both traditional and contemporary fighters. He agreed to host a meeting under strict conditions: no cameras, no press, limited witnesses, and absolute discretion afterward. On the night of March 24, 1972, 37 people gathered in that dojo. Japanese martial artists mostly, a few American servicemen stationed in Tokyo who had heard rumors, 2 translators, and Master Tanaka himself. Bruce didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Yamamoto arrived wearing his mawashi, the traditional sumo belt. He looked like a mountain, broad shoulders, thick neck, legs like tree trunks. He bowed respectfully to Master Tanaka, then turned to look at Bruce Lee with an expression that mixed curiosity and dismissal. Bruce stood in simple black martial arts pants, barefoot, his upper body bare. Next to Yamamoto, he looked like a different species. 140 pounds versus 400. A grown man versus a giant. The witnesses sat along the walls in traditional seiza position, kneeling, back straight, hands on thighs. The dojo was silent except for the soft sound of breathing. Master Tanaka stood between the 2 fighters. He spoke in Japanese, then had it translated to English. This is not a match. This is a demonstration. No strikes to the face. No grappling below the belt. The encounter ends when one fighter concedes or is unable to continue. Bruce nodded once. Yamamoto grunted agreement. There will be no recording of this event. What happens here stays here. Do you both understand? Both fighters acknowledged. Master Tanaka stepped back to the edge of the floor. He looked at both men one more time, then said simply, "Begin." Yamamoto moved first. Despite his size, he was fast. He charged forward with surprising speed, arms extended to grab Bruce in the traditional sumo grappling position. His strategy was obvious: get his hands on this small man, use his superior weight and strength to crush him. Bruce didn't retreat. He didn't dodge. He stood perfectly still, watching Yamamoto close the distance. The witnesses leaned forward. This was going to be over in seconds. When Yamamoto was 3 feet away, Bruce moved. Not backward. Sideways. A single lateral step, just 18 inches, but timed so precisely that Yamamoto's massive arms closed on empty air. The sumo champion's momentum carried him forward, off balance for just a fraction of a second. Bruce's hand shot out, not a punch, just a touch, to Yamamoto's elbow, redirecting the giant's movement slightly. Yamamoto stumbled, caught himself, spun around. His face showed surprise. No one had ever made him miss that badly. He tried again. Same charging technique, same explosive speed. This time Bruce stepped in a different direction, forward and to the right, again just enough to make Yamamoto's grab miss by inches. Another light touch to the shoulder, another redirection. Yamamoto was breathing harder now. Not from exhaustion, from confusion. He couldn't catch this small man. Every time he committed to an attack, Bruce wasn't there. Away from the cameras, Bruce made a choice no one expected. Yamamoto charged a third time, but now there was frustration in his movements. He was trying to trap Bruce against the wall, to use his size to limit the smaller man's mobility. Bruce let him come. When Yamamoto was close enough, Bruce dropped his stance lower, slipped inside the sumo's reach, and placed both palms flat against Yamamoto's massive chest. Not a push. Just contact. Yamamoto grabbed for Bruce's wrists, trying to establish a grappling hold. His hands closed around Bruce's forearms. Thick, powerful hands that could crush bone. And that's when it happened. Second one, Bruce's stance shifted slightly, his weight dropping another inch, his palms pressing against specific points on Yamamoto's chest. Second two, Yamamoto tried to lift Bruce, to use his superior strength. Bruce didn't resist. He moved with the force, redirecting it. Second three, Yamamoto's confident expression began to change. He was pulling, but Bruce's center of gravity wasn't moving where it should. Second four, Bruce's fingers pressed into pressure points beneath Yamamoto's pectoral muscles. Not painfully, just precisely. The sumo's grip on Bruce's wrists loosened slightly. Second five, Yamamoto tried to twist, to throw Bruce using a classic sumo technique. Bruce's body flowed with the movement like water, giving no resistance to push against. Second six, the witnesses saw Yamamoto's eyes widen. Something was wrong. His balance was compromised in a way he didn't understand. Second 7. Bruce's palms, still pressed against Yamamoto's chest, began to pulse, not pushing, but creating a rhythmic pressure that disrupted the sumo's breathing pattern. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. Second 8. Yamamoto's face was red now, not from anger but from the effort of trying to maintain his position. His massive legs, so used to holding steady against any force, were trembling slightly. Second 9. Bruce's expression remained completely calm. No strain. No effort. Just absolute focus. Second 10. One of the witnesses, an American serviceman named Robert Chen, would later describe this moment in a letter to his martial arts instructor back in California. It looked like a child pushing against a mountain, except the mountain was shaking. Second 11. Yamamoto tried to step backward, to break contact and reset. Bruce's hands stayed connected, maintaining that precise pressure. Second 12. The sumo champion's breathing was labored now. Not because Bruce was hurting him, because he couldn't understand what was happening to his own body. The witnesses were completely silent. Master Tanaka sat motionless, his expression unreadable. Second 30. Yamamoto was no longer trying to attack. He was trying to understand. His hands released Bruce's wrists, hung uncertainly at his sides. He looked down at the small man whose palms were still pressed against his chest, creating that strange pulsing pressure. Second 35. How? Yamamoto said in Japanese, his voice barely above a whisper. Bruce didn't answer. He just maintained that contact, that precise pressure. Second 40. Yamamoto's knees began to buckle. Not from pain, from complete disruption of his balance and breathing. His massive frame was tilting backward despite every muscle trying to stay upright. Second 42. Master Tanaka shifted forward slightly, ready to call the demonstration if Yamamoto was in danger. Second 45. Bruce's right hand lifted from Yamamoto's chest, just his fingers now, barely touching, a tap so light it looked like he was testing if a surface was wet. And the 400-pound sumo champion fell. Not thrown. Not pushed. Just fell backward, landing on the polished wooden floor with a sound like thunder, his massive body completely unable to maintain vertical position. The dojo erupted, not in cheers, but in shocked exclamations. Several witnesses stood up involuntarily. Master Tanaka's mouth was open. Yamamoto lay on his back, chest heaving, staring at the ceiling with an expression of complete disbelief. He hadn't been hurt. He hadn't been overpowered. He had simply lost all connection to his own balance, his own center, as if Bruce's touch had severed the link between his mind and body. Bruce stepped back, lowering his hands. He wasn't celebrating. He looked almost apologetic. Yamamoto rolled to his side, then slowly pushed himself to his knees. He stayed there for a long moment, head bowed. When he finally looked up at Bruce, his expression had changed completely. The dismissiveness was gone. In its place, pure respect. He spoke in Japanese. The translator whispered, "What did you do?" Bruce knelt down so he was at eye level with the sumo champion. "I showed you that weight is not the same as root. Mass is not the same as center. You are incredibly strong. But strength without sensitivity is just force." But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. Bruce reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a small business card. On it was printed simply, Bruce Lee. Jeet Kune Do. And a phone number. He handed it to Yamamoto. "If you want to understand what happened, call this number when you're in Los Angeles. I'll teach you." Yamamoto took the card with both hands, bowing deeply from his kneeling position. "Sensei," he said quietly. Bruce shook his head. "Not sensei. Just someone who studies. Like you?" He stood, offered his hand to help Yamamoto up. The sumo champion took it. The sight of Bruce Lee's small hand pulling the 400-pound giant to his feet made several witnesses shake their heads in disbelief. Master Tanaka approached. He bowed to both fighters. "What I witnessed tonight," he said in careful English, "was not combat. It was teaching." He turned to the witnesses sitting along the walls. "You will not speak of this outside this room. Not to reporters. Not to your schools. What happened here was private. It belongs to these two men." The witnesses all bowed agreement. They understood. This wasn't a victory to be celebrated or a defeat to be publicized. It was something else, a moment of transformation that demanded respect, not publicity. As people began to leave, Robert Chin, the American serviceman, approached Bruce cautiously. "Mr. Lee, I study Shotokan karate. What you just did, I've never seen anything like that. How is it possible?" Bruce smiled slightly. "The question isn't how is it possible. The question is why do you think it shouldn't be possible? Your training has taught you rules about size, weight, strength. Those rules are useful. But they're not absolute." He glanced back at Yamamoto, who was being helped to his feet by fellow sumo wrestlers still clutching Bruce's business card. Real power isn't defeating someone. It's showing them what they don't know yet. Yamamoto is stronger than I'll ever be. But tonight, he learned something new. 6 weeks later, Takeshi Yamamoto flew to Los Angeles. He spent 3 days training privately with Bruce Lee. When he returned to Japan, he never spoke publicly about what happened in the Shinjuku dojo. But those who trained with him noticed something had changed. His sumo technique now incorporated subtle weight shifts and pressure point awareness that seemed to come from nowhere. The business card Bruce gave him that night? Yamamoto had it framed. It hung in his training room until he retired in 1985. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. Of the 37 witnesses in that dojo, none ever published an account. No photographs exist. No video. Just whispered stories passed between martial artists, each retelling slightly different, but all agreeing on one detail. It lasted exactly 45 seconds, and when it was over, the impossible had happened. Master Tanaka kept the dojo floor unwaxed for 3 days after, preserving the outline where Yamamoto had fallen. Then he polished it away. Some moments, he said, should live only in memory.